October the 14th, we have a ring of fire solar eclipse happening in our sky in the sign of Libra. It's happening at 21 degrees of Libra. And we're going to talk about what this eclipse and the months that follow, 6 months to a year that follow, might indicate for the world, but also for you in your own life, depending on your sun, moon, or rising sign. You can listen to all three of those delineations today. We're going to talk about cycles of eclipses so you can look back throughout your life to see when this kind of eclipse through Libra has happened before. And you can also maybe make associations to the kinds of things and the kinds of changes you've had in your life, because eclipse cycles are repeating patterns of change that reoccur every 18 and a half years in the very same place, in the very same way. Now, the other thing I want to mention today is we're going to talk about a couple of stars associated with this eclipse that are very positive and very powerful, but it is a south node eclipse, and it's also about a letting go, a releasing, an ending, a severing, some situation that has to leave our lives. You know, if you have your hand clasped like this, you can't receive, right? You have to let go of one thing in your hand to receive another. And this has that whole south node energy all over this eclipse, because it is indeed a south node of the moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra. It's ruled by Venus, and she's doing her own gig over in Virgo, but there is some mutual reception to Mercury and the eclipse territory that kind of makes this also a little bit better than it would otherwise be. Now, if you're new, we're going to go through all signs, and I really want you to focus on looking at the patterns in the past. So we're going to get a pen, get a piece of paper, get a cup of coffee or a tea, because I want you to write these things down so that you can make sense of this after this video is over, and you can really start to ponder your life and how these cycles of change keep reoccurring for you. I'll be using me as an example. But anyway, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac whole sign houses. And if you're one of my regulars coming back for sharing and fun, and we're in the live premiere especially, don't forget to hit the like button, and it helps my channel grow. And of course, share and subscribe. This is my white bracelet. This is my white beach cover up. These are my white earrings. Why is Lori wearing white? Why would she be? And why is there so much sunlight coming in my window? Because eclipses are the darkening of the light of the moon or the light of the sun. In this case, the light of the sun is being occluded or blocked by the moon being between the earth and the sun. And so this is called a solar eclipse. In essence, it's a new moon. And in this energy of an eclipse, we see the ring of fire. You're going to see, like, if you want to look at it, but I suggest you don't, you will see that ring of fire, you know, with your protective gear around the edges of this eclipse. Now, the thing about it is that in the ancient tradition, they were kind of like, don't look at the eclipse because it's a harbinger of the death of the king or the onset of some negative situation that could be happening when the light, the luminaries, the moon or the sun is eclipsed. Here, I'm wearing white because it's Sattvic. It's what the Indian astrology would say. Wear white on the day of the eclipse, eat lightly, don't eat any food that's out on the day of the eclipse, take a bath, be chill, meditate, put some incense on. Just keep yourself in the center point or the still point on the day of the eclipse, which again is October the 14th, because then you are not baking into the 6 months or a year ahead, baking in like in a tablet of clay, some kind of energy that you don't want to have sort of wild carding through your life. Like say you got really angry and like kicked out your husband or wife or something on the day of the eclipse. You've kind of created that like energetic negative energy. Now, honestly, there's also the association with eclipses of kind of opening up a portal, especially a solar eclipse, and what can come through that portal. So you want to be sort of very super, you know, chill. So I'm kind of playfully getting into the Sattvic or super calm, neutral, equanimity, equilibrium vibe here. Second of all, this eclipse I'm going to show you is going to go through the sky in the United States, and it's going to make an X all the way through the United States down to Central America through South America, and it's visible in those places in the world. I'm telling you this because you are going to get the most potency just technically in terms of your culture, society, and the place you live when the eclipse swaths over you. And the last time the United States had eclipse going right across the country, it was in the northwest down to this, like the south part of the country, east, was in 2017. Okay. So in the United States, we'll also have an eclipse going the other way from the northeast down to the southwest in April of 2000, full total solar eclipse in April of 2024. So there's going to be an X being formed across the USA. Now, a lot of occultists think that is interesting. The United States is going to be at the epicenter of global things going on. Let me show you the sky so you can see it. I want you to know what this looks like. Then we're going to, I don't mean show you the sky as in show you the chart yet. I want to show you the sky. I want to show you what this looks like by going over to some pictures of the eclipse. And let me see if I can pull that up. and it'll let me share from my back end. I don't know if this is going to work the way I wanted it to, but I think you're able to see. No, I might have to go to the NASA site to show you what I want to show you. Give me a second. We'll go over to the NASA site and let me see if it'll let me do the share that way. I thought maybe I could just show up throw up a picture for you. Let me try one more time. You won't believe what the software just did that I'm recording on. It just disappeared me from my own screen, and I can't see that I'm even talking to you guys. But I know I am somewhere. I'm here talking. All right, I'm back. Okay, I found myself. Okay, let's try it again. Let me see if I can just try one more time to share what I wanted to show you. And then if not, well, that's life. And I will just tell you it's going right through the United States. Go to the NASA website where you can, there we are. So there you go. Now it's going through Central America, South America. I'm not going to show you that because I just want to make a point here. I live in Canada. A lot of my followers are in USA. I mean, you can go look at through the Central America down into South America as well. This is a swath. Now you see the reds, the orangey line. I'm just kind of circling my cursor here. That's where it's a total ring of fire. So people in Oregon, Southern Oregon, people in Northern Nevada, people in the middle of Utah, people in New Mexico, people in parts of Texas are getting a complete eclipse. Okay. But you can see the degrees of like how occluded is the sun, right? How darkened is the sun? So if you're all the way over here in like New Hampshire, Connecticut, or New York, New Jersey, it's a 20% to 30% coverage of the sun, darkening of the sun. But it's over here on the west side of the country that a lot of the action is happening. So yes, if you're living in the path of this eclipse, you're living in parts of the world that are going to experience some intensity in the months that follow in terms of the geopolitical, cultural landscape of where you live, in terms of things that are going on that may be somewhat difficult. I mean, if you look at Texas, you can see that eclipse path is going along the Rio Grande kind of thing, the border between Mexico and the United States, right down here. Can you see that? I hope I'm sharing. And that just tells me there's going to be a heck of a lot more of these border wall, border control, immigration issues going on in the United States along its southern border with Mexico. Even the 80% occlusion is happening on the border between Arizona, California, and Mexico. So Arizona, New Mexico, California, and Texas border, especially Texas, gets a lot of attention from this eclipse. So keep that in mind. And, you could even say that people who hail from Texas, hail from New Mexico, hail from Utah, hail from Nevada, hail from Oregon, they may have like political leaders, governors and stuff like that, in their stories over the next 6 to 8 months, maybe a year, who are in the thick of change, turbulence, and plays of destiny, right? Plays of destiny. Now, Donald Trump has his place in Mar-a-Lago in Florida, and that's in about the 50% range of the eclipse happening, how intense it is. I do not know where other contenders, I know what Biden's up north and he's in the most mild area, but then you have other people like Nikki Haley in the run-up for the US election. The female Nikki Haley's gaining traction, and of course RFK Jr., I think that's his name. So those characters, depending on where they actually live, may be very much, in the story of the aftermath of the eclipse. Now let's move on and show you the chart, and we're going to talk about all signs. But before we do, let me get rid of my share. Let's stop the share. So let's talk about the stars before I show you the chart. Okay, let's talk about the stars involved in this eclipse. First of all, where the eclipse is happening at 21 degrees of Libra are two very powerful stars, Arcturus and Spica, or Spica. And those stars are happening to be about, protection, luck, abundance, and wealth and goodness, even fame. But there is a south node there, and that's draining the energy perhaps, or it's contradicting perhaps some of the goodness of those stars. I am not sure. There's also the asteroid Isis sitting with this story. She is actually at 22 degrees of Libra. Well, the eclipse is happening at 21 degrees of Libra. Isis, she floods the Nile River Valley. She's an asteroid. She creates fertility and abundance, but she also fixes what is broken, what is irreparably broken indeed, because it's a story of putting her husband together, his body parts spread around the world, including his privates. And she grabbed them all like a Frankenstein and repaired him and brought him back to life. So there's a resurrection. There's a desire to, and an ability to fix what seems to be terminally broken. And that feels positive, as well as the flooding of the Nile River is about floods, because that's what the Nile River does. But they love it for fertility and growth. So yeah, you could go, there's two ways of looking at Isis. Will it involve floods with Saturn? still moving through Pisces. There may be some flooding in the world in the wake of this particular eclipse, but we always have floods somewhere. The stars I wanted to mention are Heze and Foramen. These are stars I don't usually use. Heze is Heze. It's really, really tightly conjunct, like within a degree, this actually 21-degree Libra eclipse. And it says in my delineation, it's a star of the maiden, symbolizing a part of her gown, and it bestows strong powers of renewal. Now think about Isis flooding the river. Think about the idea of the the ground being saturated with water, and the renewal of energy and life and goodness as everything begins to grow, or can grow, because the silty waters of the Nile fertilize the ground, right? And that flooding of the Nile usually happened in July or August, right? And that's the whole 8-8, it's a dog star story. I'll get into that another time. So we have a strong nature theme, good luck. It says a fall is possible with a softer landing than most. I'm expecting a fall in the stock markets because the South Node Mars conjunction, the last seen in 1987, the Great Depression, 1950, 1968 stock market corrections was happening in the week before this eclipse and continues to reverb through the sky. So perhaps there's going to be a fall in the markets, but it's not going to be as bad as we think. I did an interview with a financial astrologer. It's coming up pretty soon, just maybe before or after this video, talking about the sky as well from financial astrology. So check that out with astrologer Osher. Now also star Foramen. Foramen now listen to this, guys. Foramen is a huge unstable blue supergiant in the Keyhole Nebula. I just love the idea of a Keyhole Nebula. And the delineation says the journey is more important than the destination. It's a star of the movers and shakers. It bestows dynamism, vigor, ambitions, and the ability to push through big changes. So keep those stars in mind, because where this eclipse is happening, it's kind of filtering through the light of Arcturus, Spica, Foramen, and Heze. Those stars are very active. I'm going to show you the sky and we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to talk very briefly about the Sabian symbol, because I know that a lot of you guys are Sabian symbol lovers. And I'm going to, get your pen ready. I'm going to give you the times to look back at. The Sabian symbol is a child giving birds a drink at the fountain. Keyword solitude. And then she says helpfulness, friendliness, responsibility, considerations, kindness, benevolence, charity, sympathy, and true sharing. I'm just reading from one of my favorite Sabian symbol books by Diana E. Roche. A child, giving birds water, right? Child giving birds a drink at the fountain. Okay. It's innocence, it's sweetness, it's kindness. It's something about a return to that innocence. And don't forget, what are we letting go of? Excreting and letting go of South Node so that we can hold or take or be offered something new. I did a lot of talk about this concept already in all of my other videos, including an early preview video on the eclipse cycle, and go check it in my playlist. I'll put it in the description box before. Now, go back in time, which I've talked about in my last video, but I'm going to remind you of that. Go back in time to the following, and I'll give me as an example, and then we'll share the chart. Go back and remember what you were doing, what you were up to back in December 27th, 2004. December 27th, 2004 to June 22nd, 2006, right? So December of 04 and midsummer of 2006. And you can bracket that by maybe 3 or 4 months on either side. And that was the last time we had the North Node moving through Aries. Well, the South Node, the tail and the head of the serpent, these are polarities, right? The North and South Node was moving through Libra. So what were you doing back then? That is a very important window of time that is replicating this story that we're now experiencing. And maybe if you go back and think about December 27th, 2004 to June of 2006, you can piece together a narrative of change in your Libra part of your sky and your Aries part of your sky. Now, this energy is like a repeating rhythmic cycle. And so we're going to see patterns repeat, but it's not the same. I often have people go, oh no, I hate to say it, like my mother was killed then. I'm like, no. Nothing is like identical. I mean, we have outer planets in different places in the sky. It's just the meaning of the house. There are 12 houses in your chart. The Libra house for me as an Aquarius rising is my 9th house. This is where the change happens. Now, it seems to be for me associated with things to do. Okay, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the eclipse cycles for me, when I get a major eclipse cycle through houses 9 and 3, which involved travel, like back in 2004 to June of 2006, it involved a ton of world travel. I studied with shamans in the Andes. I went to South Africa and studied with Credo Mutua, a lineage holder for the Zulu people. I traveled all over the world. It was one of the most extensive travel times of my life. South Node, moving through the ninth house, didn't mean less travel. It meant travel in destined ways that had to do with spiritual knowledge, K2, South Node, and learning. I wasn't just traveling to go to the pool. I was traveling to learn from spiritual wisdom holders. Okay. So that was what was happening for me. All right. So think about what you were doing then. This time around, also, there's something with the South Node, North Node energy that you have to pay attention to. No, I'm not going to tell you that's going to confuse you. So I want you to think about what happened back then. If you lived long enough to go back in time, you can also look back to April of 1986 to December of 1987. And that eclipse cycle, South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries, I moved countries. I went to the United States to live from Canada. So there's this possibility then that because in 1986 to 87, I changed countries, that possibly I could be in that cycle again. And indeed, I may have an opportunity to live abroad. We'll see what happens. Going back in time, August 20th, 1967 to April 19th, 1969. And then way back, January 27th, 1949 to July the 26th, 1950. Now I'm going to show you the sky. We're going to go into the picture of the sky. It seems like every time I change my screen, I freeze. And I'm going to also close the window blind because I'm now starting to sweat from the sunlight. So give me a minute. I have to laugh that every time I decide to record a video in my office, there's somebody mowing the lawn or there's like sirens out there. So I close the window too because there's like mowing the lawn. I guess that's the sound out there. So recovering from a breakup or a breakdown is another delineation of Isis. Okay, so how we're going to recover over the next 6 to 12 months because it's a solar eclipse. Some people will say it's going to take a longer time to unfold, like up to a year. Some people would give it 6 months, but just know this is not something that's happening to you in the day of the eclipse. You may have themes emerge during the day of the eclipse that are that are fragrant or reminiscent of, or connected to the energies of this eclipse. Even up to 6 weeks before the eclipse, even 4 to 6 weeks beforehand, themes begin to emerge that are eclipse related in your life. Okay, so as I said, I got maybe an opportunity to live in another country than Canada, perhaps for at least a while, that just came to my attention on the day of recording, October the 5th. By the way, my Patreon community gets all of my content ad-free, early access. If you want, to do that and get all my free gifts, 2 free courses, and my 2023 All Signs videos, 12 hours of content that are now a gift to you when you join Patreon. Come aboard. Those courses are in relationship astrology and on Chiron, the key to purpose. As soon as you sign up, you'll be able to see that content offered to you free on my page. Of course, you can leave. Don't have to stick around. Just grab the gifts and run if you like. And it's the lowest tier, $5 a month. And also you might check out the webinar I'm teaching on October 10th on the Libra eclipse. We're going to dive in a lot deeper than we do in this video today. And we're going to be giving delineations for each sign in more depth and some suggestions for how to use it. So if you want to learn with me in a live webinar, please come aboard. There's still some spots left and the link is below. It's free. Okay. It's on October the 10th. And there's a replay if you cannot attend live. So let's get going and talk about the sky, guys. So I tried to take a lot of people out of the sky. I really didn't want to overweight things here because I want you to really just focus on what's happening here, right? This is the eclipse at 21 degrees of the sign of Libra. And of course, I haven't adjusted it to the hour and the moon is very fast moving and it doesn't really matter, honestly. Like, I don't want you to fixate on what time the eclipse is happening and expecting some big event to change your reality on the time of the eclipse. But just for those of you who are worried about going outside and accidentally gazing at this eclipse, because I certainly won't be gazing at this eclipse, I'll tell you that much. Let's get it more tightly tied to the actual real time. Okay, so just give me a minute to move that moon towards 21 degrees and we'll get rolling. Oh, of course, now my software is not moving as fast as I want. Hang in there. And we're moving now in Los Angeles time. I'm so far getting closer to the actual turning point of the story. My chart is moving because it's not set. Okay, great. Almost there. So basically, we're going to be looking at the time of the actual eclipse being pretty close to 11 in the morning. Let's be really precise for the fanatics on detail. 4 planets in Aries, really, if I count the asteroid Athena. And that means I don't care about the details. All right, October the 14th, 2023 in Los Angeles, California. It's around 10:54 a.m. So don't look in the sky, please. You're going to get according to a negative omen for the next few months if you are gazing at an eclipse. So I learned the hard way by gazing at a lunar eclipse, and boy, was my life a hellish storm in the months that followed. All right, so here's Isis. She looks like this. Remember, recovery from breakdown, renewal, regeneration, repairing what was terminally broken. And also we have Mercury here in Libra hanging out with Athena, the goddess of knowledge, wisdom, the asteroid Pallas Athene, also victory in war by the Roman and Greek standards, and the South Node as well, which is why this is a letting go, releasing eclipse. You see how close the sun moon is, 21 degrees, to the node at 24. The closer the sun and moon conjunction is in a new moon eclipse or solar eclipse, the closer it is to the nodes of fate, okay, the more total the eclipse will be. And because the moon is not that close to Earth right now, we have a ring of fire as opposed to just a total darkening of the sun. Now, you can also see that Pluto's here, and this is an eclipse squaring Pluto. Pluto at 27 degrees has stationed direct, and this is meaning that he's just turned direct and he's really beating into the 27th degree, and this eclipse is in a square to Pluto. So there's a lot to be said about this Pluto square because it's been ongoing all through August, September, October. We've been feeling an ongoing square of Pluto to the nodes of fate. So this is nothing new, but now the eclipse is triggering it. So there's some kind of major transformation and change around power structures, authority, banking, economies, maybe stock markets, Pluto in Capricorn, also the underbelly of power. And we've seen a lot of stuff since Pluto got into the sign, Occupy Wall Street movements, Me Too movements, looking at disclosures, hidden things that in power structures, because Pluto digs up things from below the surface, right? For one thing he does anyway. So we're going to see that maybe more disclosures about powerful financial structures and reveals perhaps coming through, especially because also we do have Mars in Scorpio at the time. I'm not drawing him in here, but he just moved into Scorpio October 12th. And he is also very stealthy, spy-like there. And he's very capable of sort of executing disclosure content when Mercury joins him there a bit later. And that looks very much like disclosures, revelations, and secrets that are going to be spilled. And this eclipse suggests from governing powerful autocratic dictators or governing systems of top-down power structures, as Pam Gregory says, top-down power structures, bless her soul. Now, the eclipse is ruled by Venus and she's in Virgo. So she's not in her happy place. She's in detriment. She's in the sign that belongs to Mercury. It's his exaltation home, and he's in her sign. And that sort of saves the day because in my view, Mercury and Venus are talking to each other. She's kind of got a wall between her and the eclipse. So she can't really help. She can't tell, the sun, moon, hey, and Mars was just there recently, you're trashing my house. But Mercury entered Libra, and that solves a bit of the problems. Once Mercury got in there, he began talking to Venus and Virgo. So Venus and Virgo, as of October the 5th, is having an ability to converse with Mercury in her own domicile. So it's like, well, if I was in your house and you were in my house, right, what would we do? I tell you to water the plants, you tell me to walk your dog, and we would keep in touch to make sure that we were doing everything right for each other. So there's a bit of a phone line between Venus and Mercury. So I think that helps Venus be a little bit more helpful in making this eclipse softer, that not harder than it could possibly be. Just a thought. Over here, we have Chiron conjunct the North Node. So there's a bit of healing, Chironic healing, 5 degrees opposing on the other side. Where's the wound in the Aries part of the sky? Where's the transformation in the Capricorn part of the sky? Where's this ability to renew, regenerate, and recover after a time of difficulty in your 11th house or in the Libra part of your sky? It's only the 11th house for Sagittarius. If you are a Libra, Aries, a Cancer, Capricorn, you are the signs that are angular to this eclipse. And if you are any of those signs, Libra, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, with your Sun, Moon, and Rising, let's say between 19 and 24 degrees, you are really getting a huge, intense hit. The Sun can be your father figures career and purpose. Moon, your mother figures your home, sometimes your body, whereas the Ascendant is everything about your life, all right? So you can listen for all of those things today, but I'm just saying if your Sun, Moon, and Rising are in the 3 degrees of either side of 21 of the cardinal signs of Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. It's a very big deal eclipse for you, and it will have a pivotal impact on your life over the next year afterward. And the signs that don't mind it so much, who kind of ride the wave, are the Leos, the Sagittariuses, because Leo and Sag are sextile or two houses away, and they kind of take it on as like, oh, there's a bit of change, but I'm rolling with it. That's okay. Similarly, the trines, which are the Geminis, air trines, right? 120 degrees away, and the Aquarius is 120 degrees away, are rolling with it. Now, I'm an Aquarius rising, and I rolled with moving to the United States, right? I'm just like, I'll roll with that and change in my country in 1987. And then the next eclipse cycle moved me back to Canada. And so this one might move me back out of the country. So, I mean, really, and I did give you guys the dates, right? Should I repeat those for you? Anybody who skipped out and didn't listen to me in depth, hang on. Where's my dates chart for all of those eclipses? Okay, just reminding you, the last time eclipses, this is the first one in Libra. There's going to be more. There's going to be one next spring and next fall. But that eclipse cycle began rolling through our sky back in December of 2000 and April 7th of 1986 to December 2nd, 1987. I moved to the United States in 1987 in October. So those eclipses moved me from Canada to the United States, where I lived for years. My kids were born there. And then December 27th, 2004 to June 22nd, 2006, I rolled back to Canada. But it was interesting because I also moved back to Canada as a part of the April of 2003 to December of 2004 eclipses in Taurus, and that represents my homeland. So it was a two-part story of repatriation, getting ready to move, and then settling in. So here we go again. If you're Aquarius rising, these are foreign shores and foreign lands, ninth house stories, and third house stories, which can be about traveling and moving. Okay, so we're going to do your sign in a minute. Anything else I'd say about the sky as a general principle before we move ahead? I want to remind you that Jupiter is sitting in Venus's house. And so he's like, and he's off duty. I mean, because he's a benefic, he can't really see the eclipse from here. It's 150 degrees or an inconjunct or a quincunx, but in ancient tradition, it's called an aversion. So he's got no eyes on there and no telephone hookup line to help him. So he's just kind of hanging there. So I just want you to be aware that the greater benefic Jupiter is no longer or not able to participate in this, where other years Jupiter would have been involved more directly in these Libra Aries eclipses, supporting, mitigating, or helping them. This time he's not quite able to do that. So I left him in the picture to show you that. So let's go through all signs, and I'm going to just pause the recording while I cue us up to Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. If you're new to my channel and you haven't tried me out, I give you 26 to 30 videos a month. Sign up, give it a try, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. If you're already subscribed and you think you might have been unsubscribed by YouTube, this is happening to a lot of us lately, double check your subscription status. And don't forget, the notification bell is a wonderful way to know when I'm posting something, especially when I'm going to do a live premiere. And if you don't have your notification bell on, you won't know that. And so check that out too. I post in the community page a lot as well, and I'll let you know when I'm doing a live premiere. So track me there as well. So let's go ahead and let's put the Aries signs up and get rolling. Okay, so let me share that with you. Oh, sorry, my mouse is like jamming. Okay, jamming mouse, not good. Share the screen. Here we go. So I think I'll probably give you about 5 minutes per sign. Do my best to give you guys equal amounts of time, but it's not always that way. Sometimes I have more to say about some signs than others. Don't worry if you're a Pisces. I'm not literally going to give you short shrift because you're last. I'm tired of you guys complaining in my comments. Thank you. Because then you guys say I didn't give you enough time, and you go look at the timestamps and you got the same as other people. So just relax. Thanks, everyone. All right. So number one, Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising. There is an eclipse in Libra. It's going to be the first eclipse of a cycle of eclipses. It's going to peter out by the spring of 2025. And it's about change in your marriage and significant others' house. This can be about literally a marriage partner, a business partner, or the way you reach out to the marketplace or audience for your 10th house career. And so these clients, audience, marketplace members, these marriage or business partners are going to be changing. There's going to be a shift here. Now, because this is going to also be South Node energy, you may experience in the 6 months to a year after this eclipse that you may be letting go of a relationship. Some of you may let something release it, let go of that longer term love relationship, partnership, or the way you reach out to an audience or marketplace. I think though, there's a chance of renewal and recovery and a refresh button with Isis here. And also those positive stars suggest the very same thing, Heze and Foramen, especially the idea of a big changes that happen, but you can push through for renewal. So I feel like you may also just let go. I mean, the whole North Node cycle for Aries is to let go of how much attention you pay to the clients, the audience, the marketplace, to surrender and let those people do their thing as you focus more on you, your needs, and what you need and want. Because that's the North Node expanding the ground that you stand on over the next 2 years, year and a half, right? I kind of want to say that you got that Pluto in intensity, and there's some big death and rebirth, Phoenix rising transformation and change that's being called into your life through this eclipse, as there is a square from the nodes to Pluto, and it involves Pluto's story. Now, Pluto in your 10th house has been a story since like 2008, and you have changed, transformed, and terraformed and reinvented your career since then. And believe me, I've got 3 planets in Aries, including my sun and moon, and my career has not been stable since 2008. I've gone through many different iterations, and I bet you a lot of you Aries understand what I'm talking about. At least I hope you understand what I'm talking about, make it bigger for you. And so there's more transformation to be had here. This eclipse cycle by 2025 summer will have transformed some of that career stuff, but this Pluto is going to leave the Capricorn part of the sky. And that's going to be something to do with your bigger gains from your career and your influence over groups of people. So this particular eclipse is very critical because it engages directly Pluto, sort of like a last touch point on transformation of your career. Also, I wonder, with Venus here talking to Mercury while the eclipse is happening, hotline, she's looking at the situation from the work routines and health routines and office and co-worker space. So there's a sense that in her broad trine to Pluto, and she will trine Pluto during the aftermath of this eclipse, she might be mopping up by talking to Pluto and saying, let's get some powerful change going in all you Aries, work house, health routines house, and also co-worker, employee, colleague space. Let's make changes there that support the transformation and the end point of years of 15 years of transformation and empowerment, empowering up in your career and reputation zone. Just so you know, you have an Aries sun there, and sun can represent career. And I have to laugh, but in all those years, I went from teaching about enlightenment, teaching classes on synchronicity and enlightenment, even getting involved with all things with the guru. Oh, I couldn't believe I did that. Having that trashing of my reputation when I left the guru and denounced his bad behavior to the world, and all this turbulence of death and rebirth. But I ended up landing squarely in astrology in 2018 and have been there since. And so is it possible for some of us Aries, there's yet another change coming? Probably this last eclipse cycle will refine what our career is about and how we manage that from a detail-oriented, productive, and healthy work and career routine space. Health matters when Venus is in Virgo. She's looking for healthy pleasures. And I always joke about having my teeny hour after work, and maybe that's not the most auspicious pleasure. Maybe I should go for a foot massage every day after work. Just an idea. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. I'm starting yours at 2:22 my time. You got the 222. So Taurus, this is a story that's happening in Libra, and it's a house that's connected to the Venus story, and she's the ruler of your sign. So you should probably definitely pay attention to this. This series of eclipses will be kind of winding down through the early spring of 25, but these eclipses will continue to renovate, revise, and change your work and health content. We're talking about the workplace, the colleague space, the coworker, the health routines, the exercise, the way you manage to prevent sickness. And South Node energy can be about letting go of things that enhance illness, right? Things that aren't good for you in the way you do the work, the job space, in the way you do your career, the way you do anything that could possibly make you ill. South Node transits have been delineated by some people here as karmic illnesses may appear during the cycle, mostly for the Taurus rising, as opposed to sun and moon, just so you know. For the sun, it's mostly a career story. For the moon people, it can also be changes in a property that you might live in by rental, and having a rental property change over the next year and a half. This eclipse is squaring Pluto. What kind of powerful transformation in father figures, religion, spirituality, things to do with the meaning of your life, foreign lands, foreign travel, foreign shores, visas, book publications, and the house of the third marriage. These are where things have been transforming since 2008. It's a powerful part of your sky. Somebody just tried to come into my room, and I don't know why, but you know, it happens all the time. I have a Patreon meeting later today, and people just have time zone challenges. I think that's probably what it is. I'm just not even going to address it. And because I'm recording on my Zoom account. So consider then that with Pluto transforming the last gasp, I guess, of your ninth house, it could be about spiritual faith and what you believe, and it could be about father figures and a relationship to them, and what's transforming dramatically in the 6 months to a year after. Certainly court matters and legal cases belong to the ninth house, and there may be some transformation around those matters as well, especially if you've been battling something for a while in a legal case. Venus is saying from your fifth house of joy, play, and pleasure and sexuality, talking to Mercury where the eclipse is happening, can you gin up some fun, some enjoyment, and some pleasure in the health and work routines over the 6 months to approximately a year after this eclipse? And that might be a story that is very acute for you. You might find yourself asking yourself in the 2 or 3 months after this eclipse, you know, is this the actual workplace for me, or the work environment, or is this the actual, you know, way I wish to engage my health protocols because I'm not enjoying them? Now, there's like possibly a call here to make some kind of shifts in your perspective around your sexuality, around sex as a general theme, and also your relationship to your children, but in the context of health and work routines in your life. Like if you're always working with your kids and helping them drive to school every day, and you have no time for yourself, or you're overly devoted to your love partner, and you really can't get the work done or health routines done you need, you may be pulling away a bit, letting go of some of that, and making a new arrangement with those people and those situations in the months that follow. And if you're somebody who's involved in campuses, colleges, and university settings to learn, Pluto's been transforming that. And this is also maybe a last story of applying some more, Venus will trine Pluto after the eclipse, some more joy and enthusiasm in what you're learning and studying, and how you do the work you need to do to succeed in that environment. I don't really talk very much about what's going on over here because that's going to be an eclipse in its own coming up in April. But just remember, you're expanding your 12th house. So foreign lands, foreign shores, travel, but spiritual depths, moksha, and enlightenment. A lot of this energy between this 9th house and 12th house can invite you to a spiritual exploration of your faith, what you believe is true, and enlightenment even. Knocking on the door of some of you Tauruses in the 6 months to a year after this eclipse and the months that unfold from it. Indeed, indeed. All right, Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. What happens is this eclipse is going to occur in your 5th house, and it is flowing in a trine to you. So you're one of the signs that doesn't mind this eclipse. It is sort of an event that's happening in front of you, but ripples back to you in a positive way. And it's making a profound transformation in your 5th house of children and romance and sexuality and entrepreneurship and creativity, as well as things that bring you pure enthusiasm, joy, and sustain your vitality. So the changes here are what you need to let go of and surrender and release South Node in order to have renewal, regeneration, Isis of things that are going to inform your energy of your soul. Like, what is it you're here for that brings you joy? And where do you find the gratitude attitude? And where are you inspired, filled with spirit in the part of your life that is about that? And so you may think, oh, the South Node is going to leak out that stuff between, this eclipse and the spring of 2025. Not necessarily. It can look like maybe you're not getting enough joy and enjoyment, but it can mean letting go of how much attention you pay to your children, how much attention you pay to your lover, how much attention you pay to some obligations of the 5th house, whatever that might look like. Maybe you've got a book publishing contract and they want you to churn out a book a month or something. You're like, I can't do that. It's not inspiring me. So where is your creative inspiration like needing to be shifted? Because you have to let go with something that blocks you from coming in a beautiful, powerful, and vitalizing and life-affirming way. Technically, a South Node transit through the 5th house could mean that if you get pregnant, it's a very important karmic relationship with that child. Sometimes it also means it's more difficult to get pregnant during that transit. All depends on your natal chart, just so you know, or your partner to get pregnant during that transit. Now, when you look at the fact that there's Pluto up here, that square to Pluto from the eclipse, that's Pluto transforming your chunky money house of inheritance monies, investment monies, and money that you can get through shared resources with a business partner, spouse, credit cards, taxes, I say stock investments. Now, this has been a place of great transformation for a lot of Gemini over the last 15 years. And this is a final grand finale here. And I feel like this eclipse is asking you to finalize what you've learned there, because deeper than the money part of the eighth house is the energy of moksha and liberation from the ego self. And if you need to finalize any kind of spiritual awareness or deep dives into the occult mysteries of magic, paranormal, tarot, numerology, alchemy, if any hermetic wisdom, if any of those eighth house things have been really activated in the last 15 years, there's almost one last gasp here. Like, how can you go even deeper underneath it? What is being called forth from you? My son is progressed into Gemini, and I'm taking time off next year. I'm going to do a Kickstarter to write my deep code astrology book. Like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And honestly, that is exactly what this could look like for a progressed Gemini son. What deep occult mystery wisdom stuff do you need to do something fifth house creative, write a book with, all right, something like that. Money and children, tensions here in the wake of this eclipse, potentially as well, and possibly money tensions with someone who is a romantic partner, but this would be a partner, not like this would be a romantic dating situation, not necessarily somebody you're like long-term committed to. Venus is watching from your fourth house, and she's saying home, property, land, and real estate. She'll trine Pluto, mortgages, monies, investments, selling, buying home. This is an energy that's really active for you. It's kind of baking into the eclipse over the course of the 6 months to a year after. You might buy or sell a home or refinance a home. But when she's looking at the eclipse over here, she's like, okay, Mercury, you're in my house watching the eclipse for me. What's going on? And they're talking. And Mercury says, well, we're communicating, we're writing, we're messaging, we're thinking, we're ideating something incredibly creative here. And Venus says, well, I guess I'll do that from the home. So you might be doing a lot of creative projects in and from your home in a very healthy and balanced way, Venus and Virgo, but also like a priestess, a very devotional way, devoted to the morning routine or the morning pages or getting up and doing something to apply that art to the daily, you know, in a very devoted way can be true for a lot of you. And lastly, women in the home. You might have some female that in the next 6 months is going to vitalize you and you're going to enjoy their company, and they're going to be coming in your home to visit you, to live with you, or something like that. My daughter may spend some time in my home when I'm away. That's an example. I have a female in my home that's not me. I'm going to just pause, go get a little chocolate break, and stop the share. And I'm also going to ask that person who's in the waiting room to please leave the waiting room, because I don't know why she's in my waiting room. I'll do that when I get back, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you're in the live premiere, don't forget to hit that bell for notifications. It really helps the channel grow, and growing is how I get my money from YouTube ad revenue. And if you don't like those ads, I don't blame you. You can get YouTube Premium, or you can come to my YouTube Patreon community for $5 a month and get all this content ad-free, early access before the general public. Here we have Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So in the sky, we've got eclipses moving through, you know, since this year now, since July, actually, the energy began to build in Libra in your fourth house. Now, remember, I gave you in the beginning of the video to go back to the other times this happened so you can compare notes. So go back and watch the beginning of the video in the replay to get those dates down, you know, so you can go back and say every 18 years, this is happening in my sky. And this is angular to you. So your home, property, land, real estate, south node, let go, release, and shift and change means you may be moving. Not just on this eclipse, but any of the eclipses that are coming through this part of your sky through to the summer of 2025. So a big move, change of home, or changes, significant letting go, releasing, surrendering, renewal, regeneration in the home. I say renewal because the south node is with Isis, the regeneration, the recovery after a breakdown or breakthrough or breakaway. And you're definitely looking at the possibility, there's Athena, of applying some knowledge and wisdom and strategy, maybe even lawyerly scales of justice regarding issues to do with property. Now, those may also involve the idea of not just changing the home, but maybe changing the way things are going on in the home. Less attention to your housemates, less attention to your spouse or children in the home, and more focus is obviously going to happen as the North Node expands your career space over the next, year and a half. This one eclipse, however, is going to square Pluto in the house of marriage, and where that is, what that means is that's going to be a challenge point. Now, if you are Cancer rising, especially, your marriage and business partners may have been very difficult since 2008, right? I know one Cancer rising, her husband just like up and took off with a woman and left her after 20 years together. She was shocked. So if you've had kind of disruptions, tensions, and near misses of endings, Pluto trying to transform that marriage, significant relationship house. Doesn't have to be marriage, guys. You can live with someone for years and it's like common law. It's like a marriage. It's long-term committed monogamous love. There is a tension here. You're trying to make a new beginning, a solar eclipse, a new start, regenerating something from in your home, but it's being activated by as well Pluto in that significant partners and marriage house story. Does that mean your marriage is over? Not by any means, of course not. It just means that there's this quality of having to transform even further things that are marriage-like, including your dedication and devotion to your audience, marketplace, and clients, if you have such a thing going on. It's maybe about your partner. They may have some kind of intensity. I know a Cancer rising, his husband just lost his job, and that happened in the 6 weeks before the eclipse, which means it's a part of the eclipse. And that change of his job is going to be a part of this eclipse intensity that unfolds, because you maybe have felt already, any of you, 4 weeks to 6 weeks before the eclipse, the beginning of the themes of the eclipse. And, with Venus over here, in the house of siblings, especially younger cousins, the local neighborhood, writing, traveling, communicating, learning. She's talking to Mercury in the house of the eclipse, and they're having a mutual reception. I talked about in the beginning that they have a hotline to each other. She can't really directly help, but she can get him to follow a bit of her instructions. And she might say to Mercury, do you need to do some sort of, in the 6 months to a year after this eclipse, connections with a sibling, maybe a sibling moving in with you, connections with travel, or something you wish to learn that's a skill that allows you to renew yourself and refresh yourself from home in a way that connects to your career. Now, honestly, Venus in the third house can really look like a female cousin or a female sibling that's going to be involved in changes in your home and the way you do things in your home over the next 6 months to a year. And lastly, the neighbors, the neighborhood, the restaurants, the shops next door, all that. Your neighbors and your neighborhood are Venus in the third house, especially Venus things like health stores and shops that, precision haircuts or something. But you may also just change your neighborhood. You may decide you don't want to be living in the neighborhood that you're in. And this is more true if your IC is floating in the third house or fourth house in whole sign houses. So look for changes perhaps of where you live, what you do in your home. Relationship dynamics are shifting, and there's some dramatic changes in that regard as well. For a very few of you, there may be an end to a significant marriage type relationship in the 6 months to a year that follows this eclipse. So Leo, sun, moon, and rising. Leo, this is something that's happening in a place in the sky that doesn't bother you. It flows to you in a sextile, and so you're kind of super chill about it. There's change, but you don't mind it at all. And this is going to be like changes in your third house. So changes in your life coming through the sky, maybe 6 weeks before the eclipse on October 14th. And up to 6 months or a year later. Now, this is an area of change that goes through to the 2025. So it's not just this one eclipse, but this eclipse is going to make a change to something to do with your third house. So could you be changing your neighborhood, neighborly relationship to a sibling, or changes involving trips, travel, and learning, or siblings? These are themes of the third: communications, websites, blogs, periodicals, magazines, third house things. So if you have a website, you may change it significantly in the next year and a half. If you conduct business online through websites and online platforms, those are changing as well. Isis is renewal, regeneration, but you have to let go of something in order to grow something new. You may move away from a sibling may move away from you. You may move away from your neighborhood over the course of the next year and a half. This one eclipse, though, is going to also remind you that you have an ongoing square to Pluto in the house of work, work routines, workplace space, bosses and coworkers, employer relationships. That this Pluto has been moving through your sixth house for a long time, Leo, and you've had some significant death and rebirth experiences when it comes to the workplace stories since 2008. But also, this is health and health protocols, and you've been transforming those parts of your life as well. Sometimes rental properties are connected to the sixth house, as well as pets. These have been big, tense, transformative places of growth for you, including since 2008, at least the death of one pet. And this Pluto story could bring up this critical tension that could connect you to a breakthrough change in a workplace story, a workplace situation. But it will connect you also to third house matters. So don't forget your local neighborhood and your virtual online neighborhood. Venus is saying to Pluto from the second house, because she's the ruler of the eclipse, let's get this Leo person more money. Let's help them achieve greater financial results in career and work stories. Like these are Artha houses, work, finances, and career, 2 and 6. And she will trine Pluto as she moves through, after the eclipse, as she moves through the sign of Virgo. Possibly, she's saying to Mercury in the third house where the eclipse is happening in their hotline of mutual reception. She's saying something like, whatever you're doing in that online world, communication, writing projects, sibling relationships, cousin connections, and neighbors and neighborhood stories for renewal, letting go, surrender, regeneration, and fertilization with a bit of strategy. Let's make money. Let's make money. So you're doing a lot of this change and let go of the third house in order to let yourself prosper, allow yourself to prosper in the 6 months onward, 6 months to a year afterward. And she also could help you let go of food styles that you don't need. No more, burritos every night, or no more nachos every night, or whatever the bad food is for you, so that you can thrive and prosper and grow your third house matters. Now, look, honestly, there's a lot of expansion into the ninth house over the next year and a half to 2 years. You may do more foreign land travel, foreign shore travel, even connected to siblings, but also you just might be expanding or growing your spiritual beliefs and faith. And it's certainly a great transit of the north node of the ninth house for anyone seeking to attain a greater connection to the divine, because you'll be striving for it. Now, grasping and striving doesn't always work, but you're trying to heal, right? A Chiron, some kind of thing about religion or faith that must not have wholeness yet because of the Chironic piece up here. Okay, and these eclipses can help you deal up what you believe in and what you believe life is about, and find your spiritual philosophy or ideology and work on a new direction with that as well. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign, having the eclipses in your second house is an aversion for you. You're not really being buffeted by them intensely, but you're watching them from the side and you're going, okay, there's changes in my money house. I'm going to have financial letting go, release, surrender until 2025 of jobs, of strategies of making money, of the way I resource my finances. Now, because the North Node's in the 8th house, you're expanding your prosperity in another way, investments, inheritances, shared money with a spouse or a business partner. You're making money, make money. You're finding other ways in order to be prosperous. It's the 8th house prosperity, but you're also letting go of the hustle. And so there's this feeling now, you might have felt it 6 weeks even before the eclipse, that something's got to give. My daughter's a Virgo rising. She's probably going to quit one of her 2 jobs. And my girlfriend's a Virgo rising, and she's stepping away from, she's semi-retiring off of some work situation she's in. So these eclipses have brought these themes to light for a lot of Virgos who work their asses off anyway. So you're looking at letting go in the 6 months to a year after this eclipse of a particular work situation or resource situation. Certainly as well, anything to do with food style or thing you put in your mouth. You may change your food style over the next year and a half, or you may stop a habit like cigarettes or too much wine. Some of those things can dramatically change as well, especially since the sun is the ruler of the 12th house, which is that self-undoing and addictions. Now, with Venus, no, let's go to Pluto. Pluto is in the house of sexuality, romantic love, children, creative projects, entrepreneurial endeavors. There can be a need to have a real kind of death, rebirth, regeneration around a child and finances, about your sexuality and romantic life. There's something that really big that wants to try to change here, basically. And with Venus trining Pluto, the energy between the two of them is flowing, and she's going to come into a tighter flow after the eclipse. So what is it that you desire or truly want that's going to sustain and nurture you in a way that's both enjoyable but healthy? Venus and Virgo moving through your sign, but also will enliven greater power and satisfaction with your relationship to your children and with your romantic partner. Now, certainly Venus in the first house can create pregnancy as she trines Pluto in the fifth. And maybe it's a transformation for some of you or your partner around a conception of a child. That's just for some of you during the 6 months that follow this eclipse. I would say, however, that if you're not finding your joy, enthusiasm, and fun, play, and pleasure in your romantic life, there can be, with this eclipse squaring Pluto. Pluto's been here since 2008. Oh my God, you've probably had some pretty toxic love relationships, right, Virgo? And with Neptune in your seventh, to people who had addictions or mental health challenges to boot. And now you're coming at the tail end of this, and there may be kind of a reckoning here in the 6 months that follow about, is this my relationship? Is this the one for me? I don't know the answer. It's not a yes or no. Pluto in January on the 20th or 22nd leaves your fifth house for almost a year. Like, he pops back in September, October, but you may be coming to the very tail end or the very closure point here of some kind of situation with a relationship, if it is not the one for you romantically. Same with a creative project. Maybe coming to an end if you're not finding it's viable, or your entrepreneurial business is not as viable, your consulting business is not as viable and lucrative as you wanted. And so technically, if I just look at a retirement, sort of a semi-retirement story for my Virgo rising girlfriend, literally it's like, yeah, she's going to rely on her eighth house investment monies, for example, not her paycheck and earnings, as she steps away from her career. So that's just very literal. And Pluto's in the house of entrepreneurial careers, and she has an entrepreneurial career. Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Guys listening in the premiere and you haven't hit my like button, please do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you who are here. I'll shout you out at the end. A big shout out to my regulars at the tail end of this thing. I have a little guest book for you guys so I can remember everybody's name. All right, so Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Well, obviously, I said in the beginning, you're a cardinal sign. It's hitting you directly. Certainly, if your Libra, sun, moon, and rising is anywhere near 21 degrees, I'd say within 5 degrees for you guys on either side. Kaboom. This is a big deal. You're really going to let go, let God, surrender, release, let it unfold. My will, not, thy will, not my will. Let go, let God. The universe has my back. Things happen for me, not to me. Get some mantras going. And the South Node is going to ask you to release, surrender, let go of some kind of identity. Like, the way you perceive yourself and other people perceive you will be dramatically shifted by the time you get to 2025 summer, and these eclipses are winding down in the house of you. Because you have Isis for regeneration, renewal, and recovery after a breakdown, because you have the energy of the stellium of Mercury and Athena, strategic knowledge and wisdom allowing you to reform yourself over the next 6 months, maybe even involving law or legal matters and lawyers in order to complete the transformation 6 months to a year from now in your very identity. Now, with the North Node going through your seventh house of marriage and significant others, there's a need to expand that relationship and grow a different pot for the root-bound qualities of any relationship that have had you feeling wounded. But those business partners and love partners also decide to no longer be in them over the course of the 6 months that follows this eclipse. Eclipses make a lot of change happen through the self and other axis of the chart. You're not in charge. There's no steering wheel here. Now, Pluto is squaring this eclipse, and this is important. This is not an easy energy, especially with the idea here that Pluto is like transforming, catalyzing intense energies since 2008 in property, home, land, and real estate, and legacy family wealth, asking you to really take a hard look at the things that are going on in your home. And are you needing to literally rise from the ashes of some situation in your domestic and private life that is not working for you? Okay, especially with Saturn, the ruler of that Pluto, now traveling through your sixth house, it may mean it's time to move, rent a new property, rent out a property, and change your home. in some significant way. Venus is talking to the eclipse in her home from the 12th the best she can through her hotline to Mercury. You may be looking at the need to change your relationship to your bed pleasures, your sexual life, things to do with women and bed pleasures. If you're a male, you may be looking at some changes in your identity regarding sexuality and secret bed pleasures. And maybe you're looking squarely at your identity and asking if you prefer to be in love with the same gender as you, right? So these are questions, or same sex, whatever, it's, gender, sex, whatever. You say gender was male and female, and that's no longer true, but you know what I mean, right? Maybe you're not hetero and you're looking at it really clearly. Those are just examples, but Venus in the 12th is kind of like, little temple prostitute energy there, but she's looking squarely at bed pleasures and she's talking to Mercury in the house of identity. And you might be coming to terms with something to do with your sexual orientation or something like that. Now, Venus is also squarely looking at the ways you are addicted to substances, especially that undo you. And you may be removing that from your life through some knowledge, wisdom, research, and ideas about how to let go, self-know, regenerate, renew, Isis yourself by letting go of some addiction. Now, you may not think it's an addiction, right? Is my martini hour an addiction? I don't know. But it'd be something that you realize it's no longer useful in your life. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. In the sky right now, what we have is you offside of this eclipse in your 12th house. It's quite subtle, and until 2025, these 12th house eclipses may barely be noticed by you. You just got out of the frigging hit line of the South Node eclipses through your sign, starting in November of 2021, and this is the last eclipse, is October of 2023. Oh, so you've gone through it, you've been through it, you've been dealing with it already. You guys are the ones who've already done the hard work. And so you're looking over at behind you at Libra, and this could be people, going to mental institutions, prisons, and hospitals in the 6 months to a year after this eclipse. That's simple. And solar figures, maybe potentially because the sun, it's a solar eclipse. The sun is being eclipsed, and it can indicate the eclipsing of a father figure from your life through sickness, illness, or hospitalization in the 6 months to a year after this eclipse, Scorpio. And Pluto's been transforming your third house since 2008, and now there's a square from this eclipse to Pluto as he's finishing up his long journey through your third house of siblings, especially younger, travel and journeys and trips. The local neighborhood that you live in, I bet you that's been changing quite a lot since 2008, and also the online world and what you do in that online world. There may also be a bit of a change of career as well for you because the sun rules your 10th house, and there's quite a possibility here of a significant reorientation towards your career path in the 6 months to 8 months that follows this eclipse. Now, I think that with Pluto in the third house, you may have a dramatic change of your neighborhood. Some of you, especially if your IC floats in the third house in whole sign houses, might be looking within a year of this eclipse at a relocation of home. With the North Node expanding your 6th house, of course, you're focused more on your health, your work, maybe getting a pet, maybe dying to get a pet, can't wait to get a pet, expanding that part of your sky. And so those are the areas where you're growing, but also where you're really obsessed. I would say if you're into enlightenment, you want to get spiritual, a South Node transit through the 12th can bring you deep awareness of the true nature of reality. You could unplug from the matrix like Neo. You could really find the meaning of life as well as God, because the moon in this eclipse is also the ruler of the house of God. So it's very spiritual moksha energy for you as well, all through the eclipses till 2025. With Venus talking to Mercury from your 11th house, she's saying, well, I've got a hotline and I'm watching what you're doing in the 12th house there, but let's get some career gains going here. Venus there would like you to get a raise or a promotion or a perk in your career path over the next 6 months. Mercury's going to do it through backroom deals and negotiations with people maybe negotiating on your behalf behind the scenes. So this could definitely look like a new girlfriend or guy friend, a new friendship forming. And that's going to be very beneficial to your long game of your spiritual awakening, or the long game of your releasing of self-undoing, if you have anything to release there, because you do have too much of an addiction as well. Then you may be seeing a new female, likely, but a new friendship emerging in the 6 months to a year afterwards, in that wake of this eclipse. It can really open up some positive developments for you. And Venus is trining Pluto and telling him basically to power up third and 11th house matters. So if you travel for your work, this is going to power up your gains in your work. And if you are working in the online virtual neighborhoods of the digital world, this is going to power up some career gains financially for you through your online presence or online work. Now, my son's a Scorpio rising, put a ton of stuff out on TikTok. I mean, it's crazy. And with that Jupiter transit through seventh, he's getting some creative notice there. So that's an example of what's going on for some of you Scorpios. Don't forget, if you're watching me in the live premiere, hit my like button and help this channel grow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that little click of your finger, guys. It's such a small thing, but it means a lot. And of course, if you're not subscribed and you're one of my regulars, would you please do that? Thank you. It helps as well. All right, so Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. The eclipses are happening in the 11th house. Now you're liking this because it's flowing in a sextile towards your identity. There's a 60-degree difference between the two of you. I mean, as I said in the beginning, I mean, the degrees of the eclipse kind of matter. So if you're a Sag, Sun, Moon, and Rising between 18 degrees and 24 degrees of Sag, you're going to feel like in a really nice soft touch. And these eclipses through to 2025 don't feel that difficult, but you're letting go, surrendering, releasing groups of belonging, social groups, friendships, letting go, release, surrender. Now, some of it's just technically you move to another country or they move away. It's not a big deal. Sometimes it can bring the loss of friends. Yes, some of your friends and friendship circle people may leave this life, and that can also happen during the course of the next year and a half. Your what you want to have happen, your wishes and your dreams and your goals for your life, your higher ambitions, your fantasies, your bucket lists and stuff. 11th house matters. Sorry about the ums. You could definitely revise those. I mean, you're emptying it out. You're letting it go. You want to cultivate new goals for your life, and that's going to be clearly the case over the next year and a half. Remember when the South Node eclipses were going through my 11th house, everything changed. That's what led me to do astrology, actually. So that's what took me away from the old path of what I wished to be experiencing in my career and in my life. So now you're going through that, Sagittarius. Because this North Node is in your 5th house, you may be focused a lot more on your children, your sexuality, and your romantic partnerships or your entrepreneurial businesses over the next year and a half, 2 years as well. And at this point, you're trying to heal some kind of wound with a child, heal some kind of wound with maybe with your creativity or your entrepreneurial endeavors or with your sexuality. And this is going to help you do that over the course of the next 6 months to a year after this eclipse. With Pluto in the earnings and voice vocation house, and how you also create resources for stability, basically your salaries, you're earning your paycheck, your money, possessions. This is Pluto transforming the way you make money for you ever since 2008. And there's been a lot of ups and downs and shifts and back and forth. I know a lot of Sagittarius for whom that is true. Now, the other thing I'd say here is that Pluto is squaring the eclipse. And so there's a dramatic turning point here in the way money is coming to you in this life over the course of the year after this eclipse. There's going to be a big change. It may not be easy because you're going through a death and rebirth type of experience around that earnings, but also your self-worth and self-value. Now, the sun does rule the 9th house of book publishing, foreign lands, and foreign shores, and it's being eclipsed, but that could also indicate big changes in 9th house matters as well. Now, so the way that you make money may be more oriented towards the 9th house, which is more spiritual energies or more practically publications. Because you can see that Venus is in the 10th house of career, looking at the eclipse in her house, talking to Mercury on a hotline called mutual reception. She's telling him the best she can how to handle this, letting go, surrendering, renewal, regeneration, Isis story, recovery after a breakdown. If you've had a falling out with anybody in your life, including a child or a romantic person, this can help restore that. But also, this is have there been career losses or gain? This is where you get the financial gain and the perks from your 10th house career. Venus up here in her fall. Have you had some falling down energy to do with your career and the finances trining Pluto that come from your career? And if so, It's very possible that she wants to restore that through friends as allies. So lean into your friendship groups, ask for favors, ask people to help you, get your networking on, because you can really open up a corridor of financial goodness over the next few months in the career space, in the working and earning space as well. So I think it's about leaning into some of those friendships. And if one friend is eclipsed in your life, like they go away and they're no longer there, well, maybe that's the best thing for you. Maybe that wasn't your person anyway. Don't forget, hit that like button. Thank you. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm almost done. Don't forget, Eclipse webinar on the 10th of October. If you haven't signed up yet, there's still some spots left. It's free and you get a replay sent to you right after. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. In the sky, you've got eclipses and they are in the 10th house. This makes you like angular and it brings change, lots of change to your career space and your reputation space over the course of the next year, but also until 2025. So it's a big deal because it's like really releasing, surrendering, and letting go of your career and reputation. Technically, it looks like usually a change of career path. You know, when the South Node was going through my Scorpio 10th houses and Aquarius rising, I was thinking about not seeing clients anymore. And now that's what I'm probably going to do next year. It's already told me it's time to change the way I do the work I do. I'll still see a few clients, but I'm going to really pull back on the one-on-one work probably. And in this sense here, you're going to regenerate and renew yourself through the letting go. Isis is here to fertilize the soil for the growth of some new direction in your career. Now, with this eclipse as well, squaring Pluto in the house of you've been transforming yourself. Catalytic death and rebirth, phoenix rising, caterpillar butterfly, snake shedding a skin in your identity since 2008. It's a big time. It's a big deal. You've gone through so much and you've probably experienced the death of people. You know, you've seen the lens, your life through the lens of death, you know, death and rebirth. And at the same time, power. And you're coming into real empowerment about who you are, what authentic power means to you. That's the purpose of that Pluto transit through the first house. Are you powerful in the face of loss, of death, of difficulties in your life? Because you've had to learn to be that. Now, when I think about this Pluto squaring the 10th house, I'm thinking, what is this catalytic change that you're in charge of? Because you got all the power. What are you doing to make this letting go change happen in your 10th house of career in the year that follows? But you're also leaning into the North Node, trying to find the healing of the root, or what unbelongingness to where you reside and where you home yourself. And this feeling of wounded in the home, wounded in the homeland, wounded in the place you live. And you're trying to heal that. And this North Node has kind of got you like looking for a home. I just went through this too. Are you my home? Are you my home? And there'll be some changes of home. You'll be doing a lot of homeland or home changes over the next year and a half, 2 years. With Venus talking to the eclipse from through the hotline to Mercury, foreign shores, foreign lands, foreigners can be helping you regenerate and renew yourself regarding the end of one phase of life in terms of career path and the beginning of something new. And she can do that through, obviously, communications of all kinds, but she is maybe connected to a feminine energy here, but she may not be. It's just a friendly friend type energy in the house of foreign shores and foreign lands, contributing to this renewal and regeneration. The sun is the ruler of your 8th house of chunky money, and whatever this renewal is, it can really regenerate your finances if that's something that you need, especially regarding contracts and legal obligations. 7th house matters. That's the moon's domain. Now, when I look at this Pluto square, I'm like, you know, I don't think it's going to be at all that difficult for you because you've been through a Pluto square, the node's energy anyway, all the way through, you know, August, September, October. It's like not something new. You've been living it already. So this is just more of that baking into the next 6 months. Okay, moving to the next sign. I'm one of you. We are Aquarius rising. We are humanity's spearhead for the next 2 decades from the great conjunction of December 2020 in Aquarius. So we are kind of the lead goose for humanity in some ways over the next 2 decades, us Aquarians. What we've got going on here is the eclipse in the 9th house. Because it's flowing to us, we're not too bothered by it. Same with the 2nd, 3rd house eclipses. We're like, yay, you know, do your thing over there. Eclipses, you know, it's up to you. You know, we went through the angular Scorpio Taurus eclipses, whole holy hell and a handbasket. We're kind of done more or less. Check out my video for the last eclipse in Taurus, which will probably one last chance to change your home, but home or homeland. But for now, we're feeling more softer energy coming from here. And between now and 2025, summer even, we're having changes to do with foreign shores, foreign lands, foreigners, book publishing, academia, third marriages, in legal and court matters, visas, etc. So this is where all the energy is, but we're letting go, we're surrendering, we're releasing something to do with those themes to regenerate, renew, and restore ourselves, and to recover from anything that may have broken down here. I talked earlier on as an Aquarius rising on this eclipse cycle moved me from Canada to the United States back in the last time it happened, 1987. Yeah, 1986, 87. Well, it's not the last time it happened. And then the next one after that, like 2005, 6 is when 2004, 5, 6 is when I moved back to Canada. So I'm expecting to maybe have yet another relocation that involves homelands in foreign shores. We'll see what happens. It all depends on your chart. My IC floats in my 5th house and it sextiles the eclipses, which can change my route. My routing can go to a foreign country. That's not true for every one of you Aquarians. Let's be serious. Depends on where your IC sits. If your IC is floating in the 3rd house or the 5th house, for example, you could definitely have a homeland change as well, not just a local change. I kind of want to say that if you have a book in you and you want to publish it, South Node will let you kind of channel something or really open up for a deeper creative place. Now, the Pluto square is happening in the 12th house, and Pluto been spiritually awakening you through a deep transformation of your Akashic record, past lives, karmatic energies, very subtle but very deep inner transformation, soul work, 2008 onward. And it all involved for me lots of spiritual awakening things that happen, spiritual awakenings, like literally the Awakened Dreamer blog. I don't know how it went for you other Aquarians, sun, moon, and rising. But there's a last call here. Pluto can help transform an addiction, self-undoing, can be the last call for awakening, at the bar of awakening, and especially with the sun up there in the house of God and the house of its joy. Even though it's eclipsed, all spiritual awakenings are about release, surrender, and letting go. With the North Node in your 3rd house, you're expanding your travel over the next year and a half, 2 years, and you're going to travel a lot more, as well as heal any wounds regarding siblings, neighbors, neighborhoods, and belonging in those areas. Venus is kind of like hoping to get Mercury to allow for some financial abundance through this eclipse cycle. She's in the chunky money house. It can be more money coming because of your resources from your spouse or partner type relationship, but also you may be saying when she trines Pluto in the 12th, for your own chunky money and your own financial resourcefulness, there is connections to foreign shores and resources and currency. What do you want to call it? Money you generate from connections to foreign countries and far off shores. Revenue from foreign lands is what Pluto can be doing here. And he's been doing that for me since 2008 in my online businesses. So Venus is like, okay, we're trining, we're going to increase the resources, the money creates money, we're creating chunky money. But again, it connects to whatever's going on with foreign lands, foreign shores, visas, academia, third marriages, and spirituality, temples, and God. All right, there's a lot of things it could be about. For example, if I was to write my Deep Code Astrology book, Venus is in the house of royalty income. This is a beginning, a portal to something new. It's a solar eclipse in the house of publishing. So there maybe the publisher's from a foreign country. I'm just making stuff up, but I'm giving you examples of what it could look like. Don't forget, in the live premiere, hit my like button. I'm going to shout you guys out after Pisces, and then we're going to roll into me taking a break. I had clients today. It's been a wildly long day. So Pisces, sun, moon, especially rising sign. What you've got happening in your chart are eclipses that are soft touches to you. They're in an inversion. They're not rattling your world, but nonetheless, this is a money axis for you. So you're going to start earning more money until now in 2025 summer, increasing your earnings, relying less on savings, investments, spousal money, or chunky money, or, what do you call it? Like debility pensions or severance package monies, or you're not relying on those chunks of money anymore. You're relying on actually your own hustle, ingenuity, and earnings energy. Now, I have a Pisces rising sister, and that's very true for her. And it's possibly true for my partner, who's also a Pisces rising. You have been wounded in the money story since 2019 in your earnings story. And this is a big healing of that, I would say, because of Isis flooding the Nile River Valley and sort of a sense of regeneration in the finance axis here. But you have to let go and surrender and release whatever is this money story back here, where you may be resulting running. You have to be careful in the stock markets and investments for you guys, because with the South Node moving through Libra, you could lose money here. So be cautious for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising. There's a square to Pluto in your 11th house. It simply says you're going to find yourself in some kind of catalytic change and growth energy through either a sibling, especially an elder sibling, or a powerful or wealthy friend. Now, it is a square, which brings action and change. So it's very intense energy here in that part of the sky, but it can also bring wealth and greater gains from your career. Now, the sun is the ruler of the house of the work and service that you do. And so there's a potential here for this looking like in the 6 months to a year after this eclipse, a new particular way to create finances through job and earnings. 6th house and 2nd house matters. Venus is in the house of your significant marriage partners, legal contracts, and business partnerships. And she's telling Mercury to get his act together and help create some kind of new arrangement with a marriage partner, business partner, or client audience marketplace in order for you to prosper in your 2nd house, let go of your reliance on the chunky money of investments or 401k or retirement monies or stuff like that. And also Venus is trining Pluto. So she's saying to Pluto something like, we are flowing here and we want to continue the flow after this eclipse. We're going to build it up to create more greater gains and wealth from your career, your 10th house path, through alliances, business partnerships, contractual legal agreements, etc. Venus here could also represent a quality of something going on in the next 6 months to a year in your marriage house that is also going to power up some financial gain here for you. But also I wonder, with Venus talking to Mercury, there may be some kind of, Venus is trying to manage this the best she can with a telephone line to Mercury. She's probably saying to him something like, Mercury is trying to always unite things here, like in Libra, right? The wobbly balance of the scales to bring them to equilibrium. And it could be that you, by consulting a significant business partnership person or a marriage partner, the conversation can really help you in the wake of this eclipse. I don't just mean one conversation, conversations in general. Venus wants to help your money. So it can be your marriage or business partner who's trying to support you, even literally support you, while you figure all of this out. Okay, thank you for listening, you guys. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the eclipses, the first eclipse in Libra. I'm going to shout out some of you, and we're going to mention your names because you guys are amazing. And then Lori is going to take a chill energy before she teaches a Q&A for her Sky Reader class. That's what it is. Discerning Light, Strictly Gaming, Anastasia D, Melissa Carey, Stephanie Vella, Sedona Horse Medicine, Fran Osher, Ace of Spades, Stephen the Jupiterian, and Ellie Teller, Misbehaving, Matt Hibby's Live, Psychic Readings with Rose, Chris Ward, Purple Table Tarot, One Wise Lady, Flower Remedy, One Rare Bird, Our Soul Songs, Crystalline Alchemist, Vancouver Vixen, Jupiter 8, Bold and Beautiful Tarot, Noah Morgan, Balkan 200, and many, many others who are regularly in my live chats with me from around the world, from Mexico, from Netherlands, from South Africa, from Scotland, from England. Thank you for being a part of my crew, supporting this channel's growth. Honestly, it's because of you guys that I'm actually excited to do this stuff. I love chatting with you in the live premieres, and it makes me feel like I'm creating community, which I hope you feel that too. Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out all the offerings in my description box, including the free Eclipse webinar. There's still some space left. Bye, everyone.